Now, if we want to composite these outputs here in After Effects, it's pretty straightforward, but there are a couple of caveats that you should know about. I'm going to right-click here in my blank Project Navigator, go down to Import Multiple Files, and I'm just going to import each one of these image sequences from Modo. Give me 1 second here, and we'll get that done. And once I've imported all of those, you'll see that I have quite a lot of these things. I've actually rendered an excessive amount of outputs on this file because I just wanted to demonstrate all of the different things that we can do with these outputs. There's just so much there that we can work with. So to get started, I'll just grab any one of these. Let's grab my diffuse total sequence, and I'll just drag that over my comp icon to create a comp based on that one image sequence. So it'll be the right length, the right size, all that kind of stuff. And I can scrub through it, albeit slowly because I haven't rendered it yet. Now, obviously, I can do compositing just like you would expect. It's if you've worked with After Effects at all, it's pretty straightforward. We could add our transparent layer. Let's just drag and drop that straight in. I'll also grab my subsurface, drag and drop that. Specular as well, we want that. And also our reflection, we'll need that one. And our luminous, we'll need that one. And that should be it for the moment. So let's select all of these layers on top of the diffuse total. Come over to their mode, and if you're not seeing mode, you need to right-click, come down to columns, make sure you show your modes. And I'll change that to add. Right? Now those will be added together. Now this image, if you'll recall, this looks too bright. In fact, this looks very similar to what happened when we tried to do this in Photoshop with when things were being double gammaed and we were working in 8-bit mode. So actually, the issue here is that our After Effects file is compositing this in 8-bit mode as if it already has gamma applied to it, which makes sense for a lot of folks, but we are power users, folks. We need to control that. So let's go down to our comp button, and just to the right of that, you'll see that we currently have it set to 8 bits per channel. Let's click that. Come up here to the 8-bit dropdown, change that to 32-bit float. And one other thing, we're going to blend colors using 1.0 linear gamma because we haven't applied any gamma to this yet. Click that, hit OK, and our result should now look the way that it should. In fact, if we go through these and go back to the very beginning, the beginning image will be identical to what we had been able to achieve in Photoshop. Very, very cool stuff. If I hit the space bar, it's going to play through this one frame at a time, really slowly, rendering each frame. You can see the little green bar progressing as it makes its way through. And once it finishes rendering our composited frames, we can just scrub through them in real time. Very, very cool. And we can see exactly what those composites will look like. Now, there's a really good chance that we're going to need to do some adjustments to these, though, right? Let's say that we like that chrome ball in the back, but actually I want to adjust it a little bit. Well, I can do that by adjusting it using an alpha channel. So when I rendered this out, I actually created an alpha just for that left object, and it's called my left alpha. If I drag that out here into my workspace, it's going to show me just the alpha for that object, and then we can scroll around and you'll see that it moves just like that object does. Now we can use that to make an adjustment. So let's expand our comp here. I'm using the tilde key on my keyboard to expand and contract viewports, by the way. I'm going to right-click and say New Adjustment Layer. Okay? Adjustment layers allow us to add things like levels. So let's add a levels operation. This happens to be a 32-bit operation. Perfect. And that is added to the adjustment layer. Let me hide that left alpha for a second here. And we'll see our histogram, and we could actually drop down the white point a little bit and pump up those blacks a little bit. We could also drag the gray a little bit to get that metal looking right, but obviously we're adjusting the entire image, right? So to mask that so that it only applies in a certain area, we'll take this left alpha, put it above the adjustment layer, and then in the adjustment layer over to the right, there's a track matte option. Drop that down and do a Luma matte for that left alpha. Click that, and now that levels only applies to our metal ball in the back. So we can actually adjust this however we like to get this looking oh so sweet. All right, so you can imagine doing a lot there. Another thing that I like to do in my After Effects comps while we're here is actually, really at this point, this left alpha thing, I don't even need that. I'm going to take my adjustment layer, hit enter. We'll call this left alpha. And then I'll take the left alpha layer, and I'm going to make it shy by clicking on our little hidey dude. I'll click that. He hides, and now when I turn on shy mode, it's going to hide that layer from us so we don't have to look at it. Perfect. So we can hide any layers we want to, and then by clicking him again, those layers come back. So when I'm creating lots of alpha masks, my layers list is going to get really long and unmanageable. I'll make the ones that I don't interact with frequently shy. That means that they'll hide whenever I click this, so I can keep my layers panel nice and clean. And of course, since we're working in 32-bit float mode, we have all kinds of pixel precision to do really extreme levels adjustments if we need to on any given piece of geometry in the scene. There's one last thing we might want to think about. I'm noticing a little bit of a weirdness happening right up here in my sphere. If I right-click in here and go to my composition settings, you'll see that my background color is currently set to white. Let's change that to black. If you're doing compositing in general, you should always start from a black ground because all of these layers assume that they're being added to black. I'll change this also to add mode just to be thorough, and that little area in my sphere goes back to being perfectly black. All right, I hope that's helpful. Have fun. We'll see you soon.